Some Mormon communities harbor dark secrets. These secrets are often hidden behind the facade of a peaceful and devout lifestyle. While many members of these communities live honest and upright lives, there are those who exploit their positions of power and trust. These secrets hide harmful practices that are not only morally questionable, but also legally dubious. The closed nature of these communities makes it difficult for outsiders to see what is really happening behind closed doors. Practices that exploit young girls. These young girls are often coerced into situations they do not fully understand or consent to. They are manipulated and controlled by those who should be protecting them. This essay will expose these secrets. We will delve deep into the hidden corners of these communities to bring the truth to light. Our goal is to uncover the stories that have been buried for too long. We will discuss the deceitful tactics used by some Mormon men. These men use their positions of authority to manipulate and control others. They present themselves as pious and righteous, but their actions tell a different story. These men use their religion to justify their actions. They manipulate religious customs and teachings to suit their own needs. They twist the words of their faith to excuse their behavior and to keep their victims silent. This allows them to engage in relationships with underage girls. These relationships are often framed as consensual or even divinely ordained, but in reality they are exploitative and abusive. These actions are often illegal. They violate both the laws of the land and the basic principles of human decency. Yet they continue to occur, often with little consequence for the perpetrators. They are always morally wrong. No amount of religious justification can make these actions right. They cause immense harm to the victims and undermine the integrity of the community as a whole. We will explore the historical context of these practices. Understanding the history of these communities can help us understand how these practices have been allowed to continue for so long. We will examine the legal loopholes that make them possible. These loopholes allow perpetrators to evade justice and continue their harmful behavior. By understanding these legal gaps, we can work towards closing them. Most importantly, we will hear the stories of the victims. Their voices have been silenced for too long. By sharing their experiences, we can begin to understand the true impact of these practices and work towards healing and justice. Join us as we shed light on these injustices. Together, we can bring about change and ensure that these harmful practices are brought to an end. It is time to stand up for the victims and hold the perpetrators accountable. The practice of underage marriage has deep roots in Mormon history. This tradition dates back to the early days of the church, where it was not uncommon for young girls to be married off to much older men. These marriages were often arranged by church leaders and were seen as a way to strengthen community bonds and ensure the growth of the faith. Early Mormon leaders, including founder Joseph Smith, practiced polygamy. This practice was introduced as a divine commandment, and it was believed to be a way to build a righteous community. Joseph Smith himself had multiple wives, some of whom were very young. This involved taking multiple wives. Polygamy was seen as a way to ensure that all women were cared for and that the community could grow rapidly. It was also believed to be a way to achieve spiritual exaltation. Often, these wives were very young. The age of these brides could be as young as 14 or even younger. These marriages were justified by the belief that they were fulfilling a divine purpose. Some were as young as 13. These young girls were often married to men who were significantly older, sometimes even old enough to be their fathers or grandfathers. This practice was seen as a way to ensure the continuation of the faith and the community. This practice was justified as a religious mandate. The leaders of the church taught that these marriages were commanded by God and were necessary for the salvation of their souls. This belief was deeply ingrained in the community and was passed down through generations. It was seen as a way to build up the Mormon community. By having large families, the community could grow quickly and spread their faith. This was especially important in the early days of the church, when they faced persecution and needed to establish strong, self-sufficient communities. While polygamy is officially banned by the LDS Church today, its legacy continues. The mainstream church has distanced itself from these practices, but the history and the impact of polygamy and underage marriage are still felt. In some fundamentalist Mormon sects, underage marriage is still practiced. These groups believe they are maintaining the original teachings of the church and continue to marry young girls to older men. These groups often live in isolated communities. They separate themselves from mainstream society to practice their beliefs without interference. This isolation makes it difficult for authorities to intervene. They operate outside the law. These communities often have their own rules and governance, making it challenging for law enforcement to address the issue of underage marriage. Despite the legal bans, the practice persists in these secluded areas. Certain states in the U.S. have legal loopholes. These loopholes allow underage marriages to occur. Some states have Romeo and Juliet laws. These laws permit relationships with a small age difference. They were designed to prevent teenagers close in age from being prosecuted. However, these laws are sometimes exploited. Older men use them to marry much younger girls. Utah, home to a large Mormon population, has such laws. This makes it easier for these predatory marriages to occur. Some Mormon men marry underage girls. They do this through religious ceremonies. These marriages may not be legally recognized by the state. However, they are accepted within certain Mormon communities. Religious leaders often perform these ceremonies. They give their blessings to the unions. This creates a culture of secrecy and complicity. The girls involved are often pressured into silence. They are told that speaking out would violate their faith. Section 5. Omission of control. Gender roles and delayed missions for girls. Mormonism has strict gender roles. These roles impact the lives of young Mormons. Boys are sent on missions at 18. Girls go later, typically at 19. These missions take them far away from home. This practice creates a power imbalance. Older men remain in the community. They have access to younger girls. The girls are often taught to be subservient to men. This makes them vulnerable to manipulation. Section 6. Vulnerable and prey. The impact of delayed missions on young girls. The delayed mission age for girls has serious consequences. It creates a pool of young girls. These girls are ripe for targeting by older men. The men use their age and position to exert control. They exploit the girls' religious devotion. This practice perpetuates a cycle of abuse. This cycle can have lasting effects on the girls. They may suffer emotional, psychological, and even physical trauma. Section 7. Blurred lines of consent. Sex, religion, and the law. The legality of sex between adults and minors is clear. It is illegal. However, some Mormon communities blur these lines. They use religious marriage as a shield. They argue that sex within these marriages is permissible. This is a dangerous distortion of the law. Underage girls cannot consent to sexual activity. This is true even within the context of marriage. These acts constitute statutory rape. Perpetrators must be held accountable. The exploitation of young girls within some Mormon communities is a crime. It is a betrayal of trust. These acts have devastating consequences. Victims often suffer long-term trauma. They may experience PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Their lives are forever changed. The perpetrators often escape justice. They hide behind their religion. This leaves the victims feeling silenced and betrayed. There are countless stories of young girls exploited within Mormon communities. These stories are heartbreaking. They highlight the urgent need for change. One such story is that of Michaela Matthews. Michaela had her first child at 16. Her husband, Jace Terry, was 21. Their relationship sparked controversy. It was legal under Utah's Romeo and Juliet law. This case is just one example of how these laws can be misused. Advocates are working tirelessly to end underage marriage. They are pushing for legal reforms. They want to close the loopholes that allow these marriages to occur. They are also providing support to victims. Organizations are raising awareness about this issue. They're educating communities about the dangers of child marriage. Their work is crucial to creating a safer future for young girls. The exploitation of young girls within some Mormon communities is a serious problem. This issue has been hidden in the shadows for far too long, affecting countless lives and leaving deep scars. These young girls, often vulnerable and voiceless, are subjected to practices that strip them of their dignity and freedom. It's a crisis that demands our immediate attention and action. We must break the silence surrounding this issue. Silence only perpetuates the cycle of abuse and allows these harmful practices to continue unchecked. By speaking out, we can begin to dismantle the structures that enable such exploitation. It's time for communities to come together, to listen to the survivors, and to amplify their voices. We must shine a light on these harmful practices. Exposing the truth is the first step towards justice. When we bring these issues into the open, we can start to hold those responsible accountable. Transparency is crucial in the fight against exploitation, and it empowers us to take meaningful action. We must demand justice for the victims. Justice is not just about punishment. It's about restoring dignity and providing support for those who have suffered. Legal action must be taken against perpetrators, and comprehensive support systems must be established for survivors. This includes counseling, legal aid, and safe spaces where they can heal and rebuild their lives. We must work together to create a world where all girls are safe and protected. This means fostering environments where they can thrive without fear of exploitation. Communities must be vigilant and proactive in safeguarding the rights and well-being of every child. Education, awareness, and community support are key components in building a safer future. This is a call to action. Each one of us has a role to play in this fight. Whether it's through advocacy, volunteering, or simply educating ourselves and others, we can all contribute to the cause. Collective action is powerful, and together we can make a difference. We must educate ourselves and others about this issue. Knowledge is a powerful tool in combating exploitation. By understanding the root causes and recognizing the signs, we can better protect those at risk. Educational programs and workshops can equip communities with the information they need to prevent abuse and support survivors. We must support organizations fighting for change. Many groups are already doing incredible work to combat exploitation and support survivors. By donating our time, resources, or funds, we can help these organizations expand their reach and impact. Collaboration with these groups can amplify our efforts and bring about lasting change. We must hold perpetrators accountable for their actions. Accountability is essential in breaking the cycle of abuse. Law enforcement and judicial systems must be vigilant and unwavering in their pursuit of justice. Perpetrators must face the consequences of their actions, and systemic changes must be implemented to prevent future exploitation. Only then can we hope to end this cycle of abuse. By taking these steps, we can create a future where every girl is free from fear and able to live her life to the fullest. This is not just a dream. It is a goal we can achieve together. Let us commit to this cause and work tirelessly until every girl is safe and protected.